Hello, and welcome to Industry Reactions. Industry Reactions is a weekly briefing on industry events, changes, and future trends that impact your business. I'm your host, Rick Honer, and today I'm joined by a special guest, Dan Hinkle from ChemPoint. Daniel, good to have you. As a
Good to be here.
reminder, you can you can find Industry Reactions on YouTube, LinkedIn, and as a podcast. For those watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell, and smash that like button. We plan on discussing issues that impact the global industry and help you uncover new opportunities. We'll hope this will provide market intelligence that will keep you ahead of changing conditions.
U.S. real gross domestic product increased at an annual rate of 6.4% in Q1. The Bureau of Economic Analysis said in its second estimate of Q1 GDP growth on Thursday. The second estimate is unchanged from the Bureau's initial estimate from last month. The increase in real GDP in the first quarter reflected increases in personal consumption expenditures, non-residential fixed investments, federal government spending, residential fixed investments, and state and local government spending that were partly offset by decreases in private inventory investment and exports. In the fourth quarter of 2020, real GDP increased 4.3%.
Yeah, those are pretty big numbers. I think it's a pretty good sign that things are really bouncing back, specifically for us in chemicals and raw materials. We're the first to see and feel those increases. So things are really ripping right now. It's not really a surprise to me. All right, so as we move into our chemical activity barometer, which we view as a leading economic indicator created by the American Chemistry Council, it rose 1.2% in May on a 3-month average, following a 1% increase in April. On a year-over-year basis, the barometer rose 18.6% in May. And again, Dan, I mean, this is no surprise for me, probably not for you. I think when you compared to last year when it was such a ghost town, coming back almost 20% year over year was thoroughly needed. But, I'm curious on your perspective. Things probably feel far from normal, quote unquote, normal compared to last year.
Oh, certainly, yeah, and I would expect this to continue to climb throughout the remainder of 2021.
I mean, the tightness, the shortages, the pricing, there's a lot going on right now.
The global plastics market has been hit by a perfect storm that's hurting the supply of the resins used to make everyday goods. Spot prices for U.S. ethylene and propylene have surged. Chemicals maker Dow noted tight inventory levels, and producer of medical supplies and the automotive industry are feeling the squeeze. At the root of the problem lies a series of factors ranging from plants being shut down, the winter storm in Texas, and the global shortage of shipping containers, which got thrown off their usual routes due to the pandemic. Add to that the strong economic recovery in Asia and demand for consumer goods in the US, and companies are at pains to secure supplies.
Yeah, I mean, you can see this on the consumer side everywhere. It seems like anywhere, if you go to order something, you go to the store, you get an out of stock sign. I think that's going to be the theme for the rest of the year. Just shortages causing out of stock and shortness in supplies and long lead times everywhere.
Certainly, and you're even seeing in slight increase in cost too for your standard goods when you're out there shopping.
Yeah. All right. On a similar vein, it sounds like some confounding news for rail across the U.S.-Mexico border. There was reports one distributor in Mexico said it was advised by a U.S. supplier to expect rail deliveries to be delayed because of congestion and a logjam of rail cars at the border. The average wait for deliveries rose from 45 to 60 days on average to an extra 15 or 20 days wait at the border. So that's a long adjustment when you talk about maybe 50% more lead times getting across the border. In general, Railcar traffic in North America increased 16% year over year. And on a year-to-date basis, the railcar traffic in North America was up 2.5% from 2020 and down 0.2% from 2019. So we're still not, from a railcar volume, not quite above 2019 levels yet.
The number of drilling rigs operating nationally rose this week as crude prices approached 67 a barrel. Drillers added 2 rigs, bringing the nation's count to 457. If you look back a year ago, there were 301 rigs operating nationally as the global pandemic crushed crude demand and sent prices tumbling.
Yeah, you can see it at the pump. I mean, gas prices have spiked. I saw another story saying that we can expect gas prices to remain high through the summer as people are going back. Things are opening up and everyone's traveling wherever they can.
Yeah, I filled my tank up yesterday and walked into the store and came back out and saw the total and was kind of blown away. I didn't look at the price per gallon before I started filling up.
All right, so now we're into new product introductions and company announcements. So a pretty cool announcement between Dow and LyondellBasell and Nova Chemicals. They announced an establishment of the Closed Loop Circular Plastics Fund. They created the fund to invest in scalable recycling technologies, equipment upgrades, and infrastructure solutions. The fund's managed by Closed Loop Partners and has an initial investment of $25 million. At scale, the fund's investments aim to recycle over 500 million pounds of plastic over the fund's lifespan. So that's a pretty impressive number. Pretty cool to see some large players in the industry collaborating to make a difference and looking at recycling all that used and spent plastic.
Ashland says it will conduct a strategic review of its performance adhesive business. The review could lead to a divestment in the business, which had sales of $310 million during Ashland's most recent fiscal year. The unit makes acrylic, urethane, rubber, butyl, and epoxy adhesives for applications such as flexible packaging, wood bonding, and roofing. Ashland says it wants to focus on chemicals for pharmaceuticals, personal care, and coatings. The company sold its maleic anhydride business to AOC last year and bought Schulke & Meyer's personal care business earlier this year.
Yeah, that's over the last couple of weeks. That's maybe the third or fourth story in adhesives specifically. And I know Ashland's been trying to focus on specialties, so adhesives probably seeing a lot more consolidation this year. All right, now mergers and acquisitions. Private equity firm SK Capital Partners announced the acquisitions of Canlac Incorporated and Valentis Specialty Chemicals. SK Capital will combine Canlac and Valentis to form a North American wood coatings firm called Canlac. It'll be headquartered in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and the combined company will offer a portfolio of wood coatings products to serve sports, commercial, and residential flooring, cabinet, and furniture manufacturing sectors. So 2 companies I haven't heard a lot about in the past, but bringing them together probably for more vertical integration there to take the specialty chemicals into the coatings group.
Mondelez International is entering an agreement to acquire Chipita, which is as a high-growth key player in the Central and Eastern European croissants and baked snacks category. Mondelez plans to fund the purchase price of approximately $2 billion, which is subject to certain closing purchase price adjustments through a combination of new debt issuances and existing cash.
And I'd say $2 billion is a lot of dough, but that'd be a terrible joke. All right, that's it for this week's edition of Industry Reactions. We'll return next week with a fresh batch of Industry Reactions. Stay safe and stay sane. Take care.